Just give us 1 second until we get everyone in from the waiting room and we'll get started. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. My name is Austin Bunce. I'm the Associate Director of Athletic Development and Basketball Revenue. And tonight we're joined with head men's basketball coach Matt McKillop. One quick housekeeping note before I kick it over to you, Matt. If those who are joining us want to use the Q&A button at the bottom, please feel free to type your questions. We'll have plenty of time at the end to get more interactive and have a Q&A, but feel free to type them in now as we go along or if you hear anything. Matt, with that, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Austin. And thank you all for being here. Austin sent me the list of all those who registered, and there's some older alums, some recent alums, some former teammates and classmates of mine, season ticket holders, people from all over the globe, people I see walking down Main Street. I think we had, when we last checked, we had over 250 people registered. I think that's the most we've ever had for one of these types of calls. It's quite a statement about how many people care about this program. We started classes yesterday, so orientation was last week. Move-in was this past weekend for our upperclassmen, and we had our opening team meeting on Sunday night after all of our freshmen had their honor code signing. And when I was leaving my house to come to the meeting, which was around 8:30, my wife asked me how long I thought it would take, and I said, "Well, I'm planning to talk for 20 minutes, but you know me, I'm probably going to go a lot longer than that." I love talking basketball and I love talking about Davidson basketball. So I hope you can leave here as excited about this upcoming year as I am and as our staff is. We've had a very productive summer and a very impressive summer from our team. And the unique thing is how much summer in college basketball has changed. And I shared this with our players in that meeting on Sunday. When I was in college, we weren't permitted to have any workouts with coaches during the summer. Now we essentially train year round, and we have 8 weeks in the summer that we can work out or practice with coaches and players. And it has pretty much been the case since we moved to the Atlantic 10. And Davidson College not offering summer school allows us to be really flexible with our players for family vacations or for our international players. But this summer, it showed our coaching staff a lot about the team that we are going to have this year. We always joke with our players about this, but they end up wanting to come back to campus after exams and after graduation, after they go home. They end up wanting to come back earlier and earlier each summer. When they go home, they have to find a gym to work out in. They have to find times in which the gym is available. They have to find a weight room that has all the proper equipment. All their high school buddies that they're excited to go see, well, they have summer jobs, so they get bored, and they often spend time at home, a little time at home, and end up calling us asking if they can come back a little earlier and utilize the 24-hour access they really have to our facilities. So the summer, we spent time in the gym working at skill development, teaching how we want to play, and really finding ways for our players to compete. We'll train in small groups, just guards and just post players. And then we'll train in mixed groups where we have players of different positions where we can compete with 3-on-3. And then we will do full team workouts, which are essentially practices, and try to be as efficient as we can in about 75 minutes. But it really allows us to start the school year, this week, with a practice season essentially already behind us. Arguably the biggest area for growth in the off season, whether it's spring, the summer, or right now, which is technically our off season fall workouts. But the biggest area for growth, we believe, is in the weight room and doing the right things from a nutrition standpoint that are going to last us throughout a long season. And those are all measurable. You could see the numbers of the weight that you move around on the bench press or on the squat rack. You could see where you weigh in week after week after week, based on what your goals may be. And with our strength coach Brian Seitz, who's incredible, we saw major improvements, and just two that I'll mention. And you're going to hopefully learn a little bit about most of our team by the end of this. But two guys I'll mention specifically in this regard. In the month of July, Roberts Blooms, one of our freshmen, comes from Latvia. He added 7 pounds in 4 weeks in the month of, I've said June, I think. In the month of July, he added 7 pounds. And then at our final weigh-in of the summer, Sean Logan, he weighed in and he was 33 pounds more than when he started school as a freshman, which is incredible. He's also grown an inch, which is also helpful. So obviously we're excited about those two, but really the work that all of our guys have done in the weight room and in their strength and conditioning. Our guys were able to benefit from all of the former Davidson players that come here back to town, back to campus, back to Davidson to spend their summers. And guys like Jake Cohen, Damon Brooks, John Axel Goodmanson, Kellen Grady, all came back and played here and worked out in our gym and spent time with our players, as well as Mike Jones spent a weekend here. Luka Brajkovic spent the month of June here. And Nelson Bocci-Yadam, he lives in Asheville, but he comes anytime his buddies are in town and ends up in our gym working out and playing with them. I would walk into the office, and at 8 a.m., Zach Laputte, one of our newcomers from Bentley University, one of our transfers, he and Damon Brooks, who are two totally different positions, they're in the gym working out together because Zach knows how good of a pro Damon has become and wants to learn everything he can from him. And then in the final weeks of summer, I would walk in and I would see Joel Hurlbert, one of our new transfers. He's from Colorado University. He would be in the gym working out with Jake Cohen. Jake's 6'11", Joe's 6'10". And I said to Jake Cohen how great I thought it was that he was working out with Joe. And then Jake said to me, well, what's great is that he actually reached out to me asking if I could help him. Brian Sullivan, who many of you know, he spent 2 days with our team at the end of July, and he did 2 workshops talking about mental performance and trying to give our guys the tools to handle whatever they could be dealing with on the court to maximize their ability. And you all probably know Brian graduated from here. He graduated in 2016. He had a great career. He played professionally for a few years. He coached on our staff. But since being on our staff, he earned a master's degree in sports psychology, and he's currently working on his PhD. And he has his own company in which he helps teams and helps individuals with sports performance. And he is an incredible resource for our players. And he will be back down to Davidson, but he will be working individually with our players throughout the season. There were a lot of days where our staff left the gym energized with like goosebumps because of how our players performed and how they competed in practice. And not just from the skills they displayed, but how unselfish they were, how they played as a team, and really how they got better and better. And we saw it from veterans. We saw it from new players. We saw guys improve. And I believe it was our last practice that we had, and we were playing a 5-on-5 competition to essentially end practice. And Bobby Durkin, who has been terrific all summer, he made a shot, and he made it on a move that we have watched him and helped him practice since our season ended back in March. So we are literally seeing the hard work show right in front of our eyes daily. One of the unique challenges we had this summer as a group was that 2 of our seniors, Connor Kachera and Michael Katzok, they each had internships, and they were in Charlotte. So they found time in the gym, but they weren't here as much as they probably would have wished to have been, but also how much our coaches would have liked them to be here. But what that did is it gave us a great opportunity. And our coaches challenged someone else to step up and be leaders with our seniors not in the gym. And we were able to constantly challenge Reed Bailey and Sean Logan and Ricky Gaddini to be leaders. And they showed that they have those qualities. And that's often the difference between winning and losing, is not just when the seniors are able to lead, but when everybody on the court is able to lead in one way or another. I mentioned how we train year round. So we want our players to be just as excited to be stepping in the gym in March as we were when we got here in June. So as coaches, we're constantly trying to find ways to keep practices and keep our workouts fresh and different. And the easy way to do that really would just be to be adding something new, whether it's a new drill, whether it's to start working on some of the plays that we're going to run this year, whether it's to add a new defensive concept, some of the ideas that we think this team can maybe do this year that we weren't able to do last year. Well, if you want to call it a challenge, one challenge that we faced was that at the very end of July, Roberts Blooms went back home to Latvia for 2 weeks. And Nick Koval, another freshman of ours from Allentown, Pennsylvania, he went home for a week to go to the beach with his families. And both those guys were here in June and then all through July. And then our other freshman, Manny Joses, who comes from London, he arrived right around the same time that they were leaving. So with the absence of 2 freshmen and the arrival of another one who was essentially learning from scratch, having just arrived, we had to be really strategic as coaches in how we wanted to approach everything day to day. So instead of adding something new, we just found different ways to compete while trying to perfect the details, which ended up being the best thing for us. And when I say compete, I mean, we're going to go 5-on-5, usually team of guys in a red jersey, team of guys in a black jersey, and we're trying to win. And we're doing it through some type of specific structure or some type of time frame or a scoring system that hopefully brings out a very high level of intensity. Well, we did it and we competed, and it really showed how tough of a team we have and how tough of a team we can be. And also, in not adding more and keeping things simple, we got better and better with the details and the habits that we think are going to build us into a championship team. this is a really special group, and it's easy for things to feel really good in August. I think we often feel good. But they are a great group of teammates, and they are very tough. They are very coachable, and they're really talented. We have depth at every position, and we have guys who are all very different in terms of their strengths and their skill sets, and that will allow us to play with all types of versatility and take advantage of different defensive schemes and different defensive matchups. And we talked to our team the other night. We said we can play small, we can play big, we can play really big, and we can play really small. And we are seeing it in how our guys play in the gym every day. But with depth, there comes sacrifice. And a phrase that we have used here for a long time is sacrifice equals reward. And we spoke about this with our team in our meeting on Sunday night. And I pointed out to one of our sophomores, Mike Loughnane, and last year could not have been easy for Mike. He did not earn a lot of playing time, but we asked him, how do you feel about the way you've played this past month? Because Mike has played really, really well. And I shared with the team that if during last season, if Mike had been thinking about himself instead of thinking about how he could have helped the team, there's no way he could have performed the way he has in this past month. But he sacrificed, and he's starting to see those rewards. I also brought up to the team something that I spoke about in the exact same meeting 12 months ago. And in the meeting, I shared a few hypothetical situations, and I asked David Skogman if he didn't start, if the coaching staff thought it was the best for the team, would he be willing to accept that role? And I asked Grant Huffman, we're talking about two of our most productive players last season. I asked Grant Huffman if our coaching staff didn't give him the green light to shoot threes, if he'd be willing to sacrifice that for the best interest of the team. Well, 12 months ago, I also said this, and Ricky Gadini remembered it. And I said to Ricky, if you don't play in the first 5 games of the season, and then a few games in, we're in a late game situation where we need you on the court to make a shot, can you be mentally strong enough through those first few games and be ready when called upon? And Ricky remembered it. And I'm not sure if anyone knows this from last season, but in late December, we put Ricky Gadini on the scout team, and we told him it wasn't a demotion. We just needed something different, and we needed someone to challenge our defense. And we believe that he was the best guy to do that as a scout team member. But we told him he needed to treat every one of those reps on scout team as if it were his Super Bowl. And Ricky took advantage of what some people would have had a bad attitude about, and it got our staff's attention. And sure enough, we play up at Duquesne, a team that won an NCAA tournament game, and he helped carry us to victory. And we were literally a toenail away from beating St. Bonaventure on the road last year, and another team that made it to the finals of the A10 championships. And Ricky played multiple positions in that game and played really well. And at the end of the year, we actually had other players on our team asking if they could play on the scout team because they saw how much it helped Ricky and how much Ricky made an impression on our staff with his role in that regard. We're going to expect everyone to have to sacrifice, as all great teams do, but we're going to expect everyone to be ready and to be called upon. And because we saw this summer how talented we are and how good we can be, we are really excited to call on every one of these guys at some point. So that's a little bit of a breakdown of where we've come from these past few weeks and where we believe we're headed. And I would love now to open this up to some questions. And I know, Austin, you may have a few that you'd like to pose as well.
Yeah, we've had a couple that have come in so far. Please, again, use that Q&A button at the bottom. First one, looking back at last season, what could you carry into this year, and where do you think we will see some big improvements?
That's a great question. I think what we really hung our hat on last year was our defensive identity, and that's pretty unusual for Davidson teams going back year after year. We've been such an offensive juggernaut, but last year we found a perfect way to defend in terms of the schemes that fit our personnel. We have a lot of very smart players that can understand a scouting report and a game plan. But I would hope that we are carrying, and I believe we are, into this year the same strides we made defensively. Our defense allowed us to compete in every game last year, and I think we are right on par with that right now. We had statistically the best defense we've had since Stephen Curry played at Davidson. That's the easy way to look at it. But we think we can expand and do some different things in terms of how we play, possibly playing zone, possibly switching defenses, both in man-to-man defenses and with zones this year. But really, what we've seen this from our summer is just the willingness and the competitiveness of our players to compete. And it's always a bit more challenging for newcomers, but our newcomers are tough and they are fearless and they are really, really competitive. Manny Joes he's been here for 2 weeks and he doesn't really know what he's doing schematically. He knows how to play basketball. He's very smart and he's picking things up quickly, but he is exceptional in his natural abilities defensively, and that's been really fun to see for our staff. I hope that he and others can continue to improve defensively to make us better than what was our best defensive team since we've been in the Atlantic 10. I hope and expect we can see improvements in our shooting. And the last 2 years were something that we've not quite seen at Davidson in terms of that. In 2022, we were fourth in the nation in three-point shooting. Last year, we were 323rd in the nation in three-point shooting. And you add guys that can shoot, but you help develop guys and their ability to shoot. And Reed Bailey and Hunter Adam have been the ones that have been shooting the ball so consistently in practice in a way that makes them look like very different players than last year. And when they do that well, it allows them to do the other things they do even better. Nick Koval, Roberts Blooms, Joel Hurlburt, three of our newcomers, arguably their greatest talent is their ability to shoot the ball. Dak LaPut, another newcomer, he's shot over 40% from three in his college career. And, I mentioned Manny. I think people would maybe have said one of his weaknesses is his shooting, but we've stat all of our practices. I think Manny's shot above 50% in all of his live competition in the, limited number of practices he's had. And without getting overly technical, I think some of the different offensive concepts that we were trying to use this year will allow us to have some ability to give Bobby Durkin and Connor Kuchera and Hunter, more open looks than we struggled to find them later in the season last year. And then I guess we're just better overall. We have this boxing story that we reference a lot with our team, and it's actually one of the signs in our hallway. And to paraphrase the story, there was a boxing match and the underdog took hit after hit after hit. And every hit he took, he didn't think he was going to be able to absorb the next hit. And then he took another hit and he didn't think he could absorb the next one. And then after feeling that way, hit after hit, finally his opponent stopped hitting him. And then he threw a knockout punch and ultimately won as an underdog. And last year we had toughness and we had fight and we had the ability to take those hits after hit, but we didn't quite have that knockout punch. And this year we have a knockout punch. We have newcomers that can throw those punches. We have guys that have returned that have gotten better and better and better, and I believe have the ability to throw that knockout punch. So I think those close games, we're going to have not only experience, but the talent and the skill to get over the hump and win those games that we fell short in last year.
You've talked about a lot of the newcomers. I think you've mentioned everybody a little bit, but can you expound upon what they bring to the table individually? I don't think we've had one of these Zooms since we've officially announced the class.
Yeah. The hope for a freshman, right, is that, after these 2 months and Manny's time was a little bit more abbreviated, but they've gotten to a point where they don't have to think about what they're supposed to do and they're just able to play. Our system it can be considered somewhat complex, but if we get the right guys and they have the right feel for the game and the right abilities, it's less complex. And I think we've nailed that with all of our newcomers. And, I mentioned Joe, our transfer, as well as Zach, another transfer, but specifically speaking of our freshmen, they are really, really talented. Manny has been here only a few weeks. He played with the Great Britain national team in the under-20s. He had a great tournament. He averaged, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but in my eyes, he had 15 points a game and 6 rebounds a game and 4 steals a game and 3 blocks a game. He had a very impressive tournament. Today we had a workout and it was arguably his best one since he's been here. Now, obviously you hope the most recent workout is everybody's best workout, but today he looked like he belonged in a little bit of a different way. Defensively, Manny's 6'7". He's got an incredible wingspan. We have this measuring apparatus where we measure everybody's vertical leap, and we measured everybody's vertical yesterday. We didn't get to measure Manny's vertical because he outjumped the whole apparatus, and his fingers, I want to say from his palm up, was higher than the apparatus would go. So we don't know how high Manny can jump. We know it's much higher than probably many guys we've had here before. Defensively, he's fun to watch because he can get into people's heads, not because he's got this intensity about him or feistiness about him as much as he is so long and he's so mobile, and he'll match up with one of our veterans and the veteran will make a great move and they'll get to, the basket. And then they start thinking about, oh no, Manny's so long and he can swarm around me essentially, that our players think too much when they're playing against Manny. It's a great problem for Manny to create for opposing teams. And hopefully it's a good opportunity for our own players to play against them and become more creative. Nick Koval, another freshman from who I mentioned from Pennsylvania, he is tough as nails and he knows the game cold. And his comfort in our system on and off the ball after being here just since June is really, really impressive. Um, his defensive know-how and his defensive IQ and his toughness defensively, that's not something that we anticipated. We knew he would be a great ball handler and decision maker. We knew he could really score and shoot the ball. His defense is something we did not anticipate would be as advanced as it is. And Grant Huffman will be very tough to replace as a defender, and not to compare the two, but in terms of Nick's ability to guard the basketball and to do it with physicality and intensity and with energy, I would put him and Grant in the same boat. And then Roberts Blooms is an incredibly talented freshman from Latvia, and he's the type of player that can like change a game in 2 possessions. We played a lot, as I mentioned, this summer, and we were trying to find different ways to do that to maintain an edge as competitors, but be exciting. And he showed that offensive talent to make a play and then get a steal and then make a play offensively. And he could just be a burst of energy with the ball in his hands as a scorer. He is really, really talented with the basketball. So I feel pretty excited about those 3 freshmen and what they have the ability to do it for us this year and impact our winning.
This is a bit of a two-part question. So your scheduling philosophy for the non-conference, how we've had to adapt and change in the current landscape of things, but then also if you can share what our non-conference looks like. I know we're just about done.
Yes, that's a very good question, and I'm happy to say we are almost at the end of having the schedule that we can release to everybody, at least for non-conference play. And there's different goals every year when we put together a schedule. But ultimately, we want to put together one that's very competitive, that allows us to win games that will put us in position to have an NCAA tournament resume. It will give us a number of home games, and it's a schedule that can be exciting for our fans, for our players, and for our recruits. And each year, and I'm talking about the NCAA metrics and the selection process, we learn more and more about what works and what doesn't work. And the A10, we meet in May, and they give you a plan that they'd like you to follow, but would really encourage you to follow. And that changes every year. It used to be play against the toughest schedule possible, and that'll boost your RPI. Well, the metrics have kind of changed, and now we use what's called the net rankings. And what the net ranking is it's predictive. So if it says Davidson is the 100th best team in the country, and they're playing the 50th best team in the country, well, they're going to lose by 7 points. And if we outperform that -7, then we improve our net ranking. And what a lot of teams around college basketball, the Big 12 caught some flack, but or some attention last year for it. And you've seen some A10 teams do it as well. But they have scheduled a lot of teams that are lower in net with the plan of beating them by as much as they possibly can. So, it doesn't necessarily look pretty or it's not fun to watch, but you'll see teams that maybe they should have won by 20, they end up winning by 30 or 40. The A10 has said, hey, we schedule games that you can win and then win those games by as much as you can. In addition to that, you want to find opportunities to play quad 1 and quad 2 games. And that's the tier of teams that, when the NCAA looks at it and you see all these Power 5 teams, or I guess Power 4 now teams, and, they're 8-2 in quad 1 games. That's the top, I think, 50 in the net. And that changes whether it's home, on the road, or a neutral site game. But you want to find a lot of opportunities to win against teams that would be considered quad 1 or quad 2. And you think about when we made the NCAA tournament as an at-large team in 2022, it maybe does not happen as good as we were. It maybe doesn't happen if we did not beat Alabama. It was a neutral site game, but it was considered a road game because it was in Birmingham. And that not only improved our net, but it was a quad 1 win for us. So that's essentially what the Atlantic 10 recommends that we do. And it looks different for us every year. For example, this year we had a game scheduled for the weekend. I could have my dates wrong, but I want to say it's the 16th is a Saturday of November. We had a game scheduled for that weekend. The team that we were playing asked if we could schedule it to a later date, and it actually made sense for us to move it to that other date, assuming we could find another team to play us on that November 16th date. We're still looking for that date right now. So something like that may happen, and it really complicates your ability to schedule games. Maybe if we kept that date, we could have found a team to play on that date we ended up rescheduling the first game for. So we find ourselves finding some different challenges every year. We're pretty fortunate, obviously, to have the opportunity to play in the Battle for Atlantis, and we're playing Arizona in the first round. That will be a quad one game for us. I know in our second round that could be Providence or Oklahoma. I believe that will be a quad one game, if not a quad one, a quad two game. And not to think about the other side of the bracket yet, but everybody in that tournament is a game that will elevate our ability to build a resume and improve our net if we play the way that we believe we can play. So that's our strategy. I mentioned how we left the gym excited. We had goosebumps at times, and there was one day we left, and we'd been talking to Temple, who's the American Athletic Conference, and they're going to be, I believe, to be much improved from this past year. And we felt so good. They'd been calling us. We're like, all right, let's do it. What are we hesitant about? The way we played today, we'll win that game even on the road. So we're playing Temple on the road, and they'll return to Belcarina next year. You may remember we played St. Mary's. It wasn't something we hope to really remember that well, but we played St. Mary's on the road this past year. It was in our contract to wait 1 year and then play them next the 2025-2026 season. So believe me, we're excited about this upcoming year, but to think about Temple and St. Mary's, in addition to all the A-10 games that we get in Belcarina, we're already on track to having a great schedule for the following year. I wish I can remember every game off the top of my head, but we're playing Temple. We are playing Bowling Green. We are playing VMI. We are playing Eastern Michigan. We are playing Bethune-Cookman. We are playing Charlotte. We are playing. We'll have a sour taste in our mouth that we played so well in Asheville. We beat Maryland. We lose to Clemson, and then we went on the road, and in the final seconds, we don't convert and end up losing to a really talented ETSU team that ended up playing really well in the Southern Conference. And they're returning, and they're expected to be very good this year. So the easy thing that jumps out to our fans and our players is that battle for Atlantis. But we put together a schedule that we believe will put us in position to get as competitive and improved as we can and grow till we start Atlantic 10 play, while also giving us chances to show that we can potentially be an NCAA tournament team.
You mentioned our depth. Can you kind of expound upon what that looks like at each position?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And it looks probably different yesterday than it did today, and it's going to look different next week than it did today. And I mentioned we can play big and we can play small. So if you think about who I would consider our real backcourt, Mike Loughnane and Nick Koval and Roberts Blooms, they can all play on and off the ball. They're both very talented they're all three are very talented with the ball in their hands. They're all very good decision makers with the ball in their hands, and they can all score. And they're all different. Nick is really, really sound and technical with his ability to run our offense. Robert is a threat to score when the ball is in his hands. And Mike, he doesn't play at quite the paces of those other two, but he makes plays with IQ as a passer, but as a scorer that looks a little different than the way the others do. And Mike has been terrific these last several weeks of the summer. So we've seen the ability for those guys to play on and off the ball in our backcourt. You think about when we won the first A-10 championship in 2015, and we had Brian Sullivan, we had Jack Gibbs, and we had Tyler Kalinowski. And not to compare our guys to quite the level of those guys. I believe they will be at some point. But we had three guys that could pass, dribble, and shoot at a very high level and play on the ball and off the ball interchangeably. And that's what we think about when we see these three guys competing in practice every day. Now, I say that Connor Kuchera has gotten reps as a point guard, as has Zach Laput. Now, they're not necessarily point guards, but they're smart enough with the ball and they're experienced enough to be effective if the ball were to reach their hands and push the ball in our secondary break. If you think about the wing, and I'm going to do my best, I don't have the roster in front of me, but I feel like I see these guys every day, and I could highlight why every one of these guys could be a leading scorer for us in one game or another. But Zach Laput is very experienced, and I mentioned he shot over 40% from three in his college career. I wouldn't say shooting's his best attribute. He's a playmaker, and he's a very good passer, and he's a very good cutter. And I think all of those things allow him to be such a threat to do things when teams have to relax. And that's when he makes his open shots so consistently. Connor, in the last 10 games of our season, I think he averaged almost 19 points a game. And he is, despite that internship, he has gotten better and better and better this summer. And then Manny Joses, I would call the next traditional wing. And I think I've spoke a little bit about Manny. Hunter Adam and Ricky Gadini, they can play the 3 and the 4. Hunter, we believed his true position at Davidson would end up being a 3. I say a 3. It would end up being more of a wing, but a little bit more challenging to do that as a freshman. but really he earned his stripes last year for us and earned his role and his playing time because of how tough he was and how physical and hard he was willing to play. And that suited us better, maybe at the 4 spot than as a wing. But there were days we left practice and it was like, I think Hunter's the one that's improved the most since our season ended. And I could say that for several guys, but other people in our gym who've popped in have said that about Hunter. Ricky Gadini, I've mentioned him as well, and his improvement has continued. And Ricky, he played point guard in high school, and then he had a few knee injuries, and then he came to Davidson, and he played the 3 and the 4 last year. And he's another guy, we could trust him with the ball in his hands, maybe not as a primary point guard, but he has the ability to do that. From a front court perspective, we believe we have incredible depth, and I'll put them in a little bit of a bucket together. You have Reed Bailey, you have Sean Logan, you have Joe Hurlbert, and they're all very different. Reed is incredibly talented. I mentioned Connor's scoring at the end of the year. I think you guys all know how talented Reed is, but I think he was a point less than Connor for the last 10 games of the season in terms of how productive he was. And he has really improved his shooting. We're seeing that daily, but he's just gotten better and better and better. And he's seeing the game differently. He's so much more comfortable with the ball in his hands, which is a little bit of a scheme we're doing a little bit, maybe more than we have in years past. And he's just gotten better and better. And it's who we expected Reed to be now. It's who I think at times he showed last year he was going to be as a junior. And we're seeing that daily. Sean Logan is just an incredible defender, but I mentioned his weight. He's playing like he belongs. He's playing with confidence. He's playing like he is not afraid of physicality and contact, which I don't ever believe he was, but maybe he couldn't do it at the level he's doing it now. I mentioned Hunter being someone you'd step in the gym and be impressed by. I think Sean's probably the other person that people are most impressed by in terms of their development and progress since last season. And then Joe Hurlbert, he is a terrific shooter. I call him feet set Hurlbert because if his feet are set, the shot's going in. He is, David Skogman had that role for us last year, and he had many things he did in his role for us last year, but he made a difference every game because of his ability to shoot the ball. And once Joe develops the same type of confidence that David had in his ability to shoot the ball within the structure and the flow of our offense, I think he could be just as productive. So I think I've got everybody. Austin, is there anybody I forgot? And I apologize if I did.
I think
we went into a workout
everybody.
today, and I had everybody on there, and then I had to put Manny on the team at the last second because I left his name off because we got so many guys. Those are the ones in terms of scholarship players.
Bobby?
Oh, geez, yeah, Bobby
Yeah.
Durkin. Bobby Durkin. When our former guys come back to town, Bobby's the one that they're comparing to Peyton Aldridge, and they're comparing to John Axel Goodmanson, not because of the style of play, just in terms of the mentality, toughness, and the ability that he's playing in terms of he's playing like he's a pro right now. He has worked and worked and worked. And the thing I love about Bobby is he's so smart defensively, and he changes the game defensively every day. And he can really shoot the ball. He's a very smart offensive player. I don't think anybody realizes just how good he is defensively, and it's because of his toughness and it's because of his IQ. So, yeah, I think Bobby's the one that I probably would have skipped over, just thinking everybody knows how good Bobby is.
Last season, the team seemed to struggle from the 3-point line. How have they worked on that this summer? Has it been a point of emphasis? What kind of things has the staff done to, I guess, improve that?
Well, there's a mentality piece, and one phrase we use with one or two of our players is you can't shoot the ball. I'm sorry, you can't make a shot if you don't take the shot. And we had a couple players that were hesitant at times to shoot, and I think the mentality piece for some individuals will really change that. I think the versatility will allow for more open looks within the flow of our motion offense. Our guys worked relentlessly this summer. Our staff spent so much time in the gym, and they'd be getting calls. Hey, can you pop in at 8 a.m.? Are you free in 5 minutes? And we'd be changing plans as a staff to accommodate our players to get them the extra work that they wanted. We have the shooting machine in our gym, but we really encourage our guys to work together and shoot as partners or shoot in a group. And one thing our players learned from Steph Curry, and it's not that anybody needs to be Steph Curry or really can be Steph Curry, but when he came and worked out in our gym the day of graduation, we watched him work out. And he never took a shot where he was standing still, caught the ball, and shot it. Everything was on the move. And he talked about how when he doesn't when he catches the ball and he's spotted up and he does nothing but catch and shoot, he doesn't even think about it because he's so used to moving and having a really challenging um, time having to catch a pass while his feet are moving and slow down and get his balance and adjust his body. And we've really worked a lot with our players on that. Not that they need to shoot the ball on the move or shoot the ball running fast, as much as it's going to challenge them to always be thinking about the simple technique and the simple foundation of their shot. I also think that we've recruited some players that can really shoot the basketball well. And that's always what we want to do, but we're seeing it daily. And we saw it when these guys were going through the recruiting process.
Are any players emerging as the natural leaders on the court and off the court?
Yeah, I mentioned that not having Connor Kuchera, and Connor is very outgoing. We joke that when he's like halfway down the hall, you could hear him as if he's standing right next to you. He has he's got a very loud voice, and his presence is felt every day in practice. So he has emerged as that, but he was that for much of last year as well. Hunter Adam is relentless with his energy and his voice. And when we recruited him, we were almost like didn't believe it. We saw it when we recruited him, and we watched him in this tournament in Atlanta. And I actually called the coach. I may have shared this story with some people before, but I called his coach after we watched him play 2 games, and I was like, is he just putting on a show for these coaches? Because I can't believe he's actually, talking that much, and he's that loud and that energetic and that positive all the time. And the coach said, well, I've been with him a while, and he's either fooled me forever, but this is, I think, who he is. And sure enough, the day he got here, that's who he is. One thing we had to work with Hunter on was like there's times that you cannot have that energy. When one of your coaches is speaking, you gotta be quiet. It's great, and you'll carry us through these tough times or these tough practices, but you got to make sure that everybody can communicate and your voice is not overshadowing our team being efficient, our team knowing what we're doing. So he's gotten a lot better at that, and that's allowed him to emerge as a leader. And some guys lead by example. Some guys lead with their voice. Some guys lead with knowing how to do things and having been at Davidson for a while. Like Michael Katzok and Brock Matheny, those guys lead because they know how to operate every single day as a member of the Davidson basketball program. And they can hold others accountable because of their experience here, because they're always doing the right thing on and off the court. So we're seeing different guys emerge as leaders. The ones that if you walk into practice and you're going to walk away saying, I bet those 2 are voted captain, you'd probably say Hunter. You'd probably say Connor Kuchera. But our coaching staff sees other guys making an impact in that way as well.
Obviously, Davidson, our academic reputation is so important, and our fans love to see our student athletes graduate. What kind of academic support system do we have in place for student athletes that enables the academic success and leads to graduation, especially in a time with such prevalent transfers?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer process and the transfer portal is a challenge in so many different ways. And I guess the one thing, and maybe this is what's being asked, but Davidson will not accept a transfer that is not on path towards graduation because the NCAA is a part of that as well. So we cannot recruit. Like we could, for example, there could be a kid from let's say Northwestern who's elite academically and he's had a straight A's, but he's tried to major in kinesiology. Well, Davidson doesn't offer that, and he maybe took so many kinesiology classes that he doesn't have enough credits when he transfers to Davidson to allow him to remain on a path towards graduation within the standards of the NCAA clearinghouse and NCAA regulations. So there are some players that just, if they came to Davidson, they wouldn't be able to graduate within the NCAA's 4 years of eligibility. So that's part of it. But as far as the resources our players have, it's pretty special at Davidson. You have your professors. That's the best resource. And when you have a class size the way that our players have, and when you have professors that are as special and caring and willing to work with students as we have at Davidson, that's the direction we point our players in from day one. Now they can get tutors if it's necessary, and we'll intervene. As intervene is not the right word. We'll allow ourselves to help our players find that extra help if needed. But the first place we point to is professors, and our players have incredible access, and they have the cell phone numbers of their teachers. And I mentioned our team meeting on Sunday night, and one of the things that we say every year, and I stated again on Sunday, was by Friday, you will have needed to, outside of your class time, have gone to meet with your professor, introduce yourself, tell them some schedules. Once we get to basketball season, could be a challenge, but you're going to do everything you can to participate and be at every single class that you will be at. And just that little touch point can hopefully carry them to maintaining and building on that initial relationship that started with that conversation. So that's a great resource. And maybe can you phrase that again, Austin? Because I think there was one other piece to it maybe that I didn't hit.
I think
Or
you
was
covered
that
it.
it?
No, I think
Okay.
you covered it. Yeah.
And I
I
will
guess
say this, we had I think we had the highest GPA we've had in a long time. And we joked about this at the end of like May or June, that everybody's grades come out. And every year Davidson Athletics will post on Twitter or Instagram, 20 of 21 teams achieve the GPA of 3.0 or more, 3.2 or more. And every year, everybody like, oh, well, we know the basketball team wasn't the ones that got that. Well, this year, I think it was 20 out of 21 again, but we were one of those teams, and we wanted to like raise our hand, be like, hey, we got it. We were in there. So our guys are they're intelligent. We believe that they're doing everything they can to maximize what Davidson offers in the classroom, and they work hard and they know how to use their resources, and the resources here are special. We've got professors that will not only teach you but will help you along the way, and I don't think that's common in many places. I know that's not the case in many places.
another kind of, I guess, college basketball landscape, college athletics landscape question: how does NIL and revenue sharing, as that develops going into next summer, how does that play a role in the recruiting process now with high school players and in the portal?
Yeah, our blueprint has always been to recruit the most talented basketball players that will thrive at Davidson College, not just in our basketball program, but that will thrive at Davidson College. And to thrive at Davidson, you have to be excited about everything, and what the academics and the degree can do for your future, what the culture and the environment in our locker room will be like, as well as be a part of what the school provides from a basketball scholarship. Now, or some kids and some prospects, they're making decisions for other reasons, and we have to tackle that. We have to tackle that head on. Now, we take pride in this place, and Davidson basketball is tradition and its history, and we have 5 members of our coaching staff who believe that we help build this place. So we will never sacrifice something that compromises what makes this program special. And we don't want prospects that come here because of NIL, but we don't want them to not come here because of NIL. And we want them to believe that Davidson can offer them everything they need on and off the court to believe that this is the place that they never want to leave. NIL and revenue sharing is part of the conversation now in this new world of college athletics, and we aren't shying away from that. But we think if a Davidson degree and everything additional provided can enhance how you go on to succeed here and long after you graduate, then that's incredible for our players, and that's incredible for Davidson College.
So here's a hard one from President Hicks. Bobby Buckets is a great nickname. Any other ones that are good on the team? Any other good nicknames?
So I mentioned Feet Set Hurlburt. That's pretty lame. But I call Ricky Gadini Magic. And he's probably not pleased that I brought that up because he can make some really, really crazy plays. He's a great passer. And you watch pickup, he's going to throw a behind the back pass. It's going to look incredible. Sometimes in practice, he'll throw a behind the head or behind the back pass, and it goes to nobody. So I usually say Magic to tell him, hey, just keep it simple. So I'm calling him Magic for Magic Johnson, obviously, but he really does have the ability to make some Magic Johnson like plays because he has great vision and he's got great skill. But sometimes when he keeps it simple is when he's at his best. I call Sean Logan is known as Bear, and if you're new to our program, as some of our freshmen or newcomers are, they hear him called Bear and they think it's because he's big and tough and he plays like a bear. Well, I have a cousin, and as a kid, he had this little bear toy, and my cousin's nickname as a baby was Shawnee Bear. And so Sean Logan got here and I started calling him Shawnee Bear, and I still do that. And everybody thinks it's because he's big and tough and plays like a big, strong bear, even though the genesis of the name is from a stuffed animal my cousin had. I think those are the only good ones. As we go through the fall, I hopefully, whether it's our staff or somebody on the team, we find a good nickname from some of the others.
What newcomer do you think has the best chance to win the cake race tomorrow?
The newcomer that I think has the best chance to win the cake race tomorrow is the newcomer that after practice today said he's going to win the cake race tomorrow, and that's Roberts Blooms. And that's really cool. Like this, the cake race tradition at Davidson, it's unique. And Roberts, he played pro basketball last year. He played on a pro team last year, and comes all the way over here, and he could just go about it like I'm here for basketball, and I'm here to play at a very high level. But he's talking trash about his ability to win the cake race tomorrow. And Robert, I keep talking about our competitiveness, and his is as good as anybody's. He's a very intense competitive player, and he's a lot of fun to play with. He's a lot of fun to play against, I believe, and he's hoping to carry that over to our cake race. I would say though, I didn't mention, and I mentioned Brock Matheny, I mentioned Michael Kassock. We have another freshman named Phil Kavu, and he's a walk on. I wouldn't put it past him. He's like a pound for pound like physical machine. He's about 5'10", 5'11", but when we do all our strength and conditioning work, he is our strength coach thinks he's pound for pound the strongest guy on the team. I could see him putting up a fight. And Nick Koval's he's an athlete and he's in terrific shape. He could do a good job, but I think Roberts Bloom's mentality will be to make sure no one beats him, and I hope he doesn't hurt himself in trying to do that.
Are practices in the fall open to fans?
Yes, they are. If you would like to email Susan Mercer in our office, she'll provide our practice schedule. Right now, what we're doing is 4 days a week we're practicing. I mentioned it's what our summer workouts are like. It's somewhat similar. We'll likely have 2 full team practices and 2 smaller group practices. You probably get most excited if you watch our full team practices because that's where you would compete. But if you want to see guys get better and better in development, you could come to our smaller workouts. But we love it when we have people in our gym, and we ask that you not be a distraction, but at the same time, it's great for our players to keep their focus when there are others in the gym. And I think it's great for our players to see the support we have from people who are in this area. And there've been times where we've had recruits in town on a visit, and they've said, "Well, who are those administrators who's over there sitting?" Like, no, those are the guys that come and watch practice every day. They love this program, and they probably know who you are.
Any new rules to watch out for this season?
I don't believe so. This was not I think it's not a rule cycle year. I think there's a phrase that I'm not saying correctly, but it's usually every 2 years there's new rules. There's a million new recruiting rules, or there's a million less recruiting rules, really, was the change of rules. That's where we're seeing a lot of the changes mostly is not off the court rules in terms of recruiting. What is really neat is that the rules have forever been that you have a head coach and then 3 assistant coaches who can travel to recruit prospects. And then someone in the position of director of operations like Matt Williams or director of program development like Jack Gibbs, they would not necessarily be allowed to go on the road to recruit and evaluate players. Well, the NCAA changed that. Now 6 coaches can now go and travel to recruit. Now, on any given day, only 4 coaches can be traveling. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow myself to be in the gym more because I don't have to recruit, because maybe Matt Williams will go watch a local high school practice. But it's also giving them great experience. And there's only so much we can talk about from a recruiting standpoint, but we're really happy with some of the recruiting progress we've already made. And you can, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know that one of our assistant coaches is from the same area as this one prospect, and that was crucial. And his ability to recruit now, as opposed to what the rules were last year, was probably a big reason why we have a kid that we're really excited about who's going to be at Davidson next year. I'm sorry, next year being the after his upcoming senior year of high school, and then entering Davidson next fall as a freshman.
During the season and off season too, we have a limited amount of time with the team and the players. How do you, as the head coach, organize and divide that time between practice, conditioning, lifting, meetings, film study, and every other obligation that the players have?
We have, let me see, I got right here. It's probably the best. We have a pretty detailed practice plan, and this is not the best example of it, but you have it right here. You have it to the minute, and you have the length of our practice. This is from today, and I had to write some stuff on the back mid-practice. But I guess the best way we do it is we be as efficient as possible with our time. We want to be on the court practicing for 90 minutes. We don't believe we need to do more than that if we are going as hard as we can with the level of intensity we can for 90 minutes. Now, we'll take some free throws and we'll stretch before and after those 90 minutes. But we don't believe in you get to the gym, you're here for 6 straight hours. We know that our guys have different obligations. We will often get not we will always schedule around our players' class schedule, but we ask for ultimate communication from our players to like, hey, we want to do everything we can to get the most out of this. So if we need to avoid a certain time, or if there's a day where you believe that you like going in the mornings or you don't like going in the mornings, let's try to find a way to get the most out of what's going to help you get better. So it's really communicating with our players, obviously communicating with Justin King, our athletic trainer, Brian Seitz, our strength coach, but understanding that this is really tough. I think one thing that was really tough for our team last year, and we did not have control over this, was in the month of February. We played Saturday, Tuesday in Atlantic 10 play. We didn't play very many, if any, Wednesday games in the month of February. So what that meant for Davidson players was that our off day, you would play on Saturday, you'd practice. It would be, a modified practice, but you'd practice on Sunday, you'd practice on Monday, then you'd play on Tuesday. You take Wednesday off, and then you'd play on Thursday. I'm sorry, you'd practice Thursday, you'd practice Friday, and then you'd play on Saturday. That was our entire month of February. I think a Wednesday off day for Davidson is very different than a Wednesday off day for every other school in the Atlantic 10. Our players are in class. Our players are using that time to catch up on their schoolwork. And if it's an off day on Sunday versus a Wednesday, our guys have an entire day to not think about anything other than catching up on schoolwork and resting. When it's a Wednesday, that might be a day where our guys have lab or our guys have seminar and they're in class for 6 hours. Maybe not 6 hours, but they're in class for more than maybe some other days. So I spoke with the new commissioner of the assistant commissioner of the Atlantic 10 this year about, hey, this put us in a really difficult spot. And I want to believe that we're going to put together a really tough non-conference schedule every single year, and maybe more so than every other team in our league. But we can't walk into conference play and get to February and realize that the deck is stacked against us because of the fact that we have academic expectations, and maybe there's a little bit of a different level of accountability for our players during basketball season than other schools. So I didn't get a promise, but I know it's something that they are mindful of, and we'll hopefully avoid next year. This year.
So our last question, and I think it kind of leads into a video that you may want to show too. Can you kind of you talked earlier about the scout team. Can you kind of break down what that is and what kind of players generally are on a scout team? And I think there's one newcomer that you haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So scout team is, I mentioned Ricky Gaddini. We felt that he could really challenge our team to get better on scout team, and the scout team can be some players that like Ricky, or some younger players that maybe aren't getting having the expectation of playing, and we think it could help our team by. I'll use Mike Loughnane as an example, but Mike Loughnane never actually was on scout team last year. We wanted him playing with his teammates, but we could have put Mike Loughnane on scout team and let him play point guard there. Our walk-ons are on scout team, and some of our coaches are often on scout team. Jack Gibbs is on scout team, and we have like highlight reels of what Jack Gibbs does as a member of scout team. We actually show it to our recruits, like, hey, just so you know how good this guy was, and we'll send him, his 40-point games that he had back in 2015, 16. And then we'll also send him a highlight of, Tuesday's practice in which Jack made 17 jumpers off the dribble. We've always had an incredible group of managers that have helped us. And, 2 graduates last year. One's Victor Taylor. He was a manager for us for 4 years, and he's now an assistant coach. He's a graduate assistant at Mercer University. And the other is Chris Sosnick. And Chris Sosnick followed a path that Will Tony took and that Ryan Ansell took. And these are guys who graduated. I think those 2 graduated in 2014. But Chris Sosnick came in as a manager. He got tossed on the scout team because we just needed a body. And he played so well that he was like, I'd like to try to earn a spot as a walk-on. Sure enough, he did. Well, Chris Sosnick, yesterday and today, I've been texting with him. He has been at the Atlanta Hawks coaches retreat. And he is an assistant to the general manager. I think that's technically his title for the Atlanta Hawks. He's working in an NBA front office, and whether he's on path to become a coach, or whether he's on path to be a GM, what he did here as a manager and as a player have allowed him to be so impressive to the Atlanta Hawks that he has been given all sorts of different roles already, to the point that he is at the retreat with the people that are making decisions for how the Atlanta Hawks will play this year. Well, another student who has tried to go that similar path. His name is Luke Zimmerman, and maybe you'd recognize him from behind the bench, but Luke, he might have tried out one year to walk on, and it wasn't the right year, and he stuck with it. And we said, hey, just keep doing what you're doing as a manager, and in time things will work out. And he asked if he could come back this summer, and I know he asked that question in hopes of it earning him a spot on our team. And so last Friday, I'm sorry, 2 Fridays ago was our last Friday of our summer workouts. And we were going to have, or we had that team meeting I mentioned on Sunday. So my plan, he'd done a great job all summer, was, we obviously talk as a staff about it, but was on that Sunday meeting 2 nights ago, we would announce to the team that Luke made the team. Rewind to that Friday practice, and it's the end of summer, so you want to leave everybody, have everybody leave on a good note. So we did our live competition. I remember I mentioned Bobby Durkin made that game winner. And then we had a half-court shooting contest. All right, let's just do something fun as we walk out the door. And I can screen share this. And what we did is we broke up guards, coaches, and then big men, let's say. And I can't remember what group Luke went with, but let me make sure I do this correctly. So you'll hopefully be able to hear this. But here is our half-court shooting contest. We got Sean Logan rebounding. Can you see this, Austin? Is this showing?
Yep.
Okay. So Sean Logan gets a rebound. He passes to Hunter Adam. Hunter misses it. And here he passes to Luke Zimmerman. So Luke makes the shot, and not really thinking much of it. Everybody else starts shooting, and he ends up being the only guy that makes it. And so a couple seconds later, we bring it in to close it out for the final time of the spring. And here I am, and here's Matt Matheny, and you could see I go ask Matt Matheny a question. And I was like, hey, what do you think? But this is pretty neat. I basically say, hey, Luke, because you made that shot, we've decided that you've made the team. So Luke is now on the. I don't know if he's actually officially on the website roster. I think he's wearing number 55. Something Will Regal gave him for a uniform number. But I mentioned a number of new players on our team. Well, there's another new one, and it's a pretty neat story, and that was a pretty cool moment.
Any closing comments, Matt?
We got a lot of work to do, but we are thrilled with the guys we have in our gym, and it's easy to feel great in August. It's easy to walk out of the gym after one of those good practices and you see Bobby make that shot, and you see Hunter's improvement, and you see Sean continuing to get bigger and stronger. But I think the attitude and how much these guys care about each other, from what we've learned about them this summer, is really, really what's going to be the difference between that one possession game and winning. And if we continue to improve, if we continue to remain as healthy as Coach Seitz and Justin King help us become, and our guys continue to show up every single day the way they have these last 8 weeks, there's no telling what we can do. So
Matt,
please come and sorry, Austin. So please come support us, on nights like tonight. Support us by coming and watching our guys practice. Walk down the street and tell our guys how excited you are to see them play when you bump into them. We got a special group of guys, and they're the type of kids that you want to send your own children to come to our camp to get coached by. And when you walk in our gym, I hope our guys making a similar impression on all of you.
Matt, thanks for taking the time tonight. And everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. I think we're 74 days away from the opener, I believe. So it's coming quick.
10 weeks from yesterday.
Perfect. 10 weeks from yesterday. So we'll see everybody in Belk Arena soon. Thanks so much and have a great night.